Welcome everyone to Your Our Unity, a show that wishes to spread a spirit of peace and love in the world, one conversation at a time.
None of that affects how you are going to change the world.
That's right.
No, it does not take one person to change the world, but it takes one person to believe in themselves.
Yes.
That they can make a difference.
I love
to
that.
Inspire others.
And that's why, for me, I try to make it my purpose now to try to help other people realize their self-worth, because it's so sad that so many of us, we get destroyed based off of what other people have to say.
Yeah.
I would say do it in your own way, make sure you're doing it on your own accord, and take a risk.
Go out there and live your life passionately. Believe in everything that you're doing and believe in the fact that you will accomplish every single goal. Welcome everyone to Your Our Unity, a show that wishes to spread a spirit of peace and love in the world, one conversation at a time. We want to encourage you to be kind, particularly to those that don't think like you, don't walk like you, talk like you, who don't act like you, who don't look like you. We were all uniquely, beautifully and wonderfully made. So it is important that we realize that everyone looks at this world through different eyes, through a different view. So let's be kind to those people. Let's embrace and celebrate them, and let's love on them, shall we? My name is LeShawn Walker. I'd like to welcome you in. Please like, share, and follow. Let everyone know that we're on. Tag a friend. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood, my friend. Spring has definitely sprung. I'm feeling the sun rays all in the air. It's beautiful outside. I've been seeing the smiles on everybody's faces. People are wearing their shorts and their tank tops. It is really, really beautiful. And I'm so glad the sun is lighting me up, making me feel even lighter at this time. You know, I've been going through a few things these past few months, but I'm going to tell you something. The sun just put a different spark in my life. So I hope that it's doing the same for you guys. It's been raining last couple of weeks, and, you know, we've had some cold snaps here and there, but right now the sun is just warming us up. It's embracing us. So go out there and enjoy it. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, enjoying your family and your friends, as I always ask you to do, and also spend some time with yourself. I hope you self-cared, self-loved, did everything that you need to do in order to fill yourself up as well. I decided to take a trip this weekend. I wanted to support a couple of friends who have been guests of the Your Our Unity show, as well as beautiful people in my life. So, you know, I was busy, I'm not gonna lie. It took a lot for me to get there and come back in a day and a half, but I did it because I needed to support these amazing women that were in a play that they were having, a musical actually, in Atlanta, Georgia. So I took a plane Saturday morning. I went down to Atlanta, Georgia. I visited a friend of mine first who I met in Dubai about, oh my God, 6, 7 years, maybe almost 10 years ago. I haven't seen her in a few years, so I decided to meet up with her and her son, but we went to see an amazing play called Linen Town. Linen Town is a musical, and this week it is Unity in the Community, but we could just bypass that. Linen Town is a musical, and it's a reenactment of author Hattie Whitehead's book, Giving Voice to Linen Town. The story focuses on Whitehead's childhood in Linen Town, a community of 50 Black families around the 1960s, and the destruction that followed due to urban renewal. The musical begins with Miss Hattie, played by my friend Renee McDad, that's her there with the little girl, telling her story to her granddaughter, Peyton, played by Whitehead's actual granddaughter, Peyton Jackson. The audience is then taken back to the 60s, where we meet the characters of young Hattie, her neighborhood friends, and her maternal grandmother, as well as some of the younger neighborhood children. The musical ended with discussions of some of those reconciliations, like the Linen Town Resolution for Recognition and Redress, which was passed by the Athens-Clarke County government in 2021. The resolution is the first in Georgia to officially call for reparations. The play was incredible. The cast was top notch. The singing was unbelievable, and the story was so, so important. I'm so glad that I was able to attend. My beautiful friend, as I mentioned before, was sort of the narrator, the voice of the play, and her name is Renee McDad. She's been on the show, and as well as Yvonne Powell, who was in one of those photos as well. She performed as one of the neighbors. So it was a very impactful play. It was filled with so many diverse people as well, looking to find out the history of Lennon where I understand the university actually stands today. So it is important that they shared this story so that their history is not lost in that town. And I'm so glad that I was able to attend. We had a beautiful, beautiful time. So please, guys, tell me, what did you do this weekend? Who did you support? Where did you go? Who did you see? What were you thinking about? And what were your plans if you didn't go anywhere? Just share with me what your actual plans were, because maybe this weekend we'll get a nice, beautiful sunshine coming on us again, and you'll be able to take advantage of it. So I don't know if you guys know, but it is World Autism Acceptance Month. And World Autism Acceptance Month, formerly known as Autism Awareness Month, is meant to highlight the issues affecting people with autism spectrum disorder and their families, educate the public on and support services, and celebrate the and to destigmatize the perspectives of those living with ASD. So sorry about that. We're also going to be talking with my guest about that, actually. She is a huge advocate and proponent for just bringing awareness, bringing support, bringing the kindness and love and compassion to those who are neurodiverse as well as who have autism. So we're just going to dig right in, because this is going to be a beautiful interview with this amazing young lady. And the title of the show is You, Me, Neurodiversity. And we'll be speaking with the beautiful Alyssa Lego. Formerly a Miss New Jersey pageant queen, she is a multifaceted individual whose remarkable journey encompasses roles as a prolific author, philanthropist, and thought leader. Currently pursuing a degree in communications at Boston College, originating from Toms River, New Jersey, Alyssa exhibited extraordinary communication skills from an early age. Her eloquence as a speaker has propelled her to esteemed platforms such as the Special Olympics of New Jersey, the Lights Fest, and TEDx events, to name a few. At the tender age of 14, Alyssa co-founded the Morgan Marie Michael Foundation, fueled by a mission to combat the ableism experienced by her younger brother, Michael, who is on the autism spectrum. This foundation became a beacon for acceptance within the autism community, spearheading impactful initiatives like the Strut brand. Alyssa made her literary debut in 2020 with her memoir, I Never Cared Much for Toys, My Fascination with Conversation. Her creative energy extends to the You, Me, Neurodiversity children's book series, featuring titles such as Henry and the Birthday Invitation, Max and the Tower of Acceptance, and Lily Finds Her Voice, all aimed at fostering autism appreciation and neurodiversity through engaging narratives and educational programs. Alyssa's commitment to the cause extends to donating book royalties to organizations supporting autistic individuals, particularly adults. Beyond her literary pursuits, Alyssa hosts the Chit Chat with Alyssa Lego podcast, facilitating conversations with influencers on global issues, and has been featured in various media outlets advocating for neurodiverse inclusion. Despite accolades, including a feature on a Times Square billboard, Alyssa remains grounded in her belief that her work simply contributes to the greater good and advocates for those without a voice, a commitment deeply ingrained in her essence. Her remarkable achievements underscore her unwavering dedication to philanthropy and advocacy, reflecting her passion for impactful dialogue and community connection. So please help me welcome the beautiful Lego. Alyssa Lego. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor and privilege to be here.
Oh, no, thank you so much. I am so honored to have you here, especially during this month and with everything that you have going on, everything that you've contributed to the autism community. I think that it's important that you be here to share your story. So thank you so much for taking the time and the drive, my friend, to be here.
I'm so happy too. This is such a special month, such a special celebration of autism and acceptance and awareness and how far we've come as a society, but how far we have yet to go. And it just feels very fitting to be here. You know, You're Our Unity is very much our mission at UME Neurodiversity. So you're our people, and I feel like we are in great hands to be discussing such an important topic.
Yes, indeed. So thank you. I so appreciate it. As I said, you guys heard me read her bio. I didn't want to cut anything out. I wanted you to get the full scope of this young lady at this tender young age and all that she's doing. So I want to dig right in. I mean, we're still very young, but still, tell us a little about your upbringing. I understand you started reading at like 2 years old. What? Tell us about that.
Sure. So, yes, my parents always said, and I want to give them a shout out because I'm sure they're watching. My parents always said that I didn't care much for toys, for whatever other my peers were doing at the time, but that I really wanted to be held by my grandparents or my parents, and I wanted to talk. Apparently, I started talking, and as you might discover throughout this interview today, I never really stopped. And one thing I often say is that I'm a collection of the people that I meet. So my village and my community and connecting with those around me has been a huge part of my life since birth. And I was very involved as a child. I was a competitive cheerleader, a competitive dancer, very lucky to have so many amazing community experiences, musical theater as well. But one of the most defining aspects of my childhood and my upbringing was my role as an older sister to Michael, who is my younger brother. He's 2.5 years younger than me, just turned 19 a few weeks ago, so happy belated.
Yes, I think we have a photo of you and Michael. Go ahead.
Yes, I think he's up there. Yes. I saw him before, and he just turned 19. He's non-vocal, and he's on the autism spectrum, and that is a huge part of my lived experience, of my worldview. At this point, I'm actually a legal guardian to my brother now as well.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, so he is my sole inspiration really behind all of the work at UME Neurodiversity, something that's really informed my worldview and really sparked my advocacy journey. So it's a huge part of my life and was a huge part of my childhood and my upbringing as well.
That's amazing. Now, you know, knowing that you guys are only 2 years apart, I mean, you were still learning, you know, what his ableisms were and who he was as a young child. So how easy was it for you to kind of, you know, take on this role as not only just a big sister, but also someone who had to be a little bit more compassionate to him because of, you know, who he was?
Yes, it wasn't always easy. I do want to credit my parents because they raised me with an understanding of difference and of disability that I think has followed me throughout my life and has allowed me to connect with a multitude of people, and that's something that I truly am grateful for. But I think the most interesting thing about it, and the reason why I'm so passionate about advocacy and about this journey, is because I was growing up and trying to be a role model to my brother at the same time that I was learning about his disability, but also learning about how the world didn't accept him for how he was made and for his neurotype and how he was born. So that was a lot to reconcile with at a young age, and wanting to be that protective older sister. I always tell this one story of this night that I was at McDonald's with my mom and my brother, and it was after dance class. We always looked forward to going to McDonald's. And my brother was in the play place, and I was eating with my mom, and the restaurant was pretty empty. All of a sudden, we hear just this rumbling from inside the jungle gym. And there were these two boys and my brother was in the jungle gym at this point. And these two boys were a lot taller than my brother. They almost cornered him into an area in the jungle gym, screaming at him, "Why don't you talk? Why don't you talk? Why don't you talk?" Over and over and over and over again. And the most interesting thing was the boy's father just sat there eating. didn't look
Wow.
up,
Didn't question, didn't
exactly.
say stop,
Yes,
nothing.
yes. And I wish I could say that that was an isolated experience,
Right.
something that we just picked up from and moved on. But instances like that of misunderstanding, of ableism, of bullying have been a huge part of my brother and I's upbringing, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about the work that we do.
I love that, and I know seeing that over and over again, it did not make you feel good,
No.
you know, and the fact that you know we feel helpless
Yes,
sometimes.
yes.
So how did you empower yourself at that time, and knowing that you had to do something to not only be the protective sister, but also the educator to others
Sure.
out there?
Sure, that's a great question. My parents raised me with a very almost servant leadership mindset. Volunteerism was a huge part of my upbringing as well, and giving back to the less fortunate. So I was very much raised with that perspective and that attitude. So that was a big part of my mindset growing up. And then as I got older and I realized that I really liked connecting with others, speaking and writing as well,
Right.
I realized, hey, I could do something here with the things that I like to do and this cause that I care a lot about.
Right.
So I was in 7th grade at the time, and I collaborated with my previous 4th grade teacher.
Okay.
And we created this lesson plan program called Friends Who Are Different. And I had this board that I went around to so many different schools in New Jersey and across the East Coast as well. We had this board and these "Hello, my name is" stickers. And one of the pieces of the lesson plan program was students would write their name in an effort to remove labeling and negative stereotypes surrounding disability and difference.
Right.
And so that was one piece, but it went along with this book called My Best Friend Will at the time. This was before the UME Neurodiversity titles. I believe I was 14 at this time. And the whole lesson plan was about championing acceptance, tolerance, respect. And that was my start. I went around to all of these different kindergarten through 2nd grade classrooms and really enjoyed connecting with the students, teaching them about autism, teaching them how to be a better friend, a better community leader. And I really learned so much from those kids. Even though I was in that teaching role, I learned so much from them.
That sounds amazing.
Thank
How
you.
did they receive it? I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it because, again, you're young. You know, you're still a child yourself, and you're trying to, you know, impart these things to even someone who's just a few years younger than you. How was it received? How did the kids enjoy?
I remember this one moment where a boy raised his hand and he was like, "I have autism."
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if the way that I responded then was how I would respond now.
Right.
But that was just such a powerful moment of self-advocacy, of bravery for
Yeah.
a child to, and that's the attitude shift
Yeah.
that I want to see in
Yes.
society, of embracing, of celebrating, of understanding. And that was just such a powerful moment that I'll never forget. But the kids were really excited to learn about difference, about different neurotypes, about different ways to be a better friend. And I think every adult could have gone into that classroom taking away a positive lesson from all of those kids who were just learning these things for the first time.
No, I totally
Yes.
agree. Even down to that young person who admitted it. It's like bringing them out of the darkness,
Right,
you know, and letting and
right.
allowing them to reveal their truth and not wanting to hide from it anymore. Because again, you know, those disabilities, they come in so many different variations,
Right.
and they're not even really like. I love the word that you use, ableisms, you know? The fact that they see things differently, they may think differently, but we are the same. We hope for, desire the same thing. And the fact that you went in there and you're trying to teach them that kindness, compassion, and love and just acceptance is really just everyone wants that, you know?
Yes.
So I love that. I
Thank
love
you.
that. So now I mentioned quickly, because I know that's not what we're talking about, but you were also a pageant queen. So I would love, because you know, I have a co-host, my beautiful Celine Ferdinand, who co-hosts the youth edition of the
Sure.
Your Our Unity show. She's also a pageant queen. So I've just learned a lot about that community.
Yes.
So I understand that, you know, along with just not just the title, you learn so much. You
Oh,
gain
absolutely.
confidence, speaking, you learn how to speak, emote, self-esteem, all of these wonderful things. What made you want to be a pageant queen, and how did you get involved?
I actually got involved, and this is one thing that I tell everybody who asks, because it's not the typical path that you would think of somebody starting to compete in a pageant. I got my first introduction to pageantry through a volunteering event.
Oh, wow.
So that just goes to show you just how much these women care about giving back to their community. And I was at a Special Olympics event. I was very young at the time, maybe 9 or 10.
Wow.
And I was modeling in the Special Olympics American Girl fashion show, where all of the girls would fundraise throughout the year, and then they would appear in this fashion show. Really successful event year after year of raising money for Special Olympics New Jersey. And I was just really inspired by the girls that I saw there, how invested they were, and how like-minded they were, and caring about a lot of the same things that I did at that time. So I competed in pageants from about the age of 13 to 15. I was heavily involved in the Miss America organization, so a big shout out. And it's just such a wonderful organization. I think there are so many negative stigmas about beauty pageants, about pageantry in general, but really I look up to all of those women so much. I know our current Miss America serves serves in the Army, or maybe it's the Air Force. I think it's the Air Force.
Yes.
Yes. So many incredible things. The Miss America before her was a nuclear scientist.
Yes.
And these are things that people in the community just don't really know.
Exactly.
But they're such amazing role models, and I really have so much respect for anybody that does hold a title and uses it to serve their community.
Yes, no, I love that. I know that our mutual friend Shefik, who blessed me with the introduction to you, was working with you at that time as well. So yes, I just think that they do amazing work if you use it for the right reasons.
Correct,
if you utilize the connections and the networking and the people in the right way, it is definitely a beautiful platform to be a part of. So yes, I loved it. And I then realized that, you created these organizations that is geared towards autism and neurodiversity. So tell me about your first organization that I think you began. Was it the co-founded the Morgan Marie Michael Foundation?
Yes.
So tell us a little about that.
Yes, so that was just sort of a natural progression from the work that I was doing with friends who are different. At this time, I was involved in the pageant industry as well. And for the so that was from about 2017 to early 2020s, and we were very involved in the fundraising and event space.
Okay.
So we had a brand called Strut, and we would put on these very special events, big fashion shows where it involved so many different members of the communities, local designers, international designers, young ambassadors that would fundraise for us throughout the year. And we had 3 annual fashion shows that we would do, and they were so exciting, and everybody, it was so great to watch it all come together on stage. And we did other events throughout the year, sensory toy drives as well. So we were very much emphasizing and focused on big in-person events, and we were able to generate a lot of impact, donating iPads equipped with protective cases and communication software to countless individuals in the communities. I did mention our sensory toy drives, which are so important, getting sensory toys and gadgets into youth groups, into hospitals, into different community spaces, so important. So we were able to generate so much on the ground impact from the events that we would host throughout the year. And then in spring of 2023, I pivoted to Yumi Neurodiversity, which is really the children's book series on a mission to embrace neurodiversity, to teach these topics to young readers, to get them to think differently and productively about difference, and to get them to embrace the whole spectrum of neurotypes, to be a better friend, a better community leader, a better community builder.
Yes, I love that.
Thank
For
you.
those of us out there, because, once I started doing the research on neurodiversity, that's when I really became, more educated on what it actually means.
Right.
So for those of us out there that don't know what neurodiversity is, please share.
Of course. So it really refers to the spectrum of different neurotypes. Neuro means brain, and then diversity is difference. And we've come a really far way as a society, and I'm glad that the term neurodiversity is becoming more popular, because it really is a productive and humane way to think about differences in neurotype. And one thing that I like to say to explain it to people, because I think it really resonates, is neurodiversity is as important for the human species as biodiversity is for an ecosystem. If you look at an ocean, you want there to be different types of coral. You want there to be different types of predators, different types of prey. And obviously, it's not gonna be a perfect analogy that's gonna translate to our 21st century society. But that's how we should think about it. The more differences and diversity that we have in neurotype and function, the stronger and more full, and the more we celebrate those differences, the more everybody can shine and feel empowered to find their place in society and to productively contribute to it.
Yes, no, I totally agree. And not look at them as a defect, you know?
Right, yes.
Everyone looks at the world differently, even the way they think and they process information, and still are brilliant, brilliant people. So that goes for ADHD, dyslexia. I think there was other cognitive issues that all fall up under that category. That back in the day there was a stigma that something was wrong, and that you needed to be fixed, and that you needed to be medicated, and you needed to be changed. And unfortunately, I think that it's gone on for a very long time. And it is definitely now the time to show the world that it's not that there's a one size fits all for everyone. And we all have unique ways of expressing and learning and growing. So it's important that we share the fact that neurodiversity is a thing, you know? And it's not just ADHD, disability, dyslexia, disability. These things are just who you are. And you just view the world differently, and let's just champion them and celebrate them and encourage them to continue to do that and not try to fix them. So tell me, how did you do that? Because now you're an older sister. When you're younger, you're protective. You're, you know, you want to make sure that no one messes with your brother. But now you're both growing into these adults. What are you saying? How is your relationship with him growing and changing? And what the assistance that you offer him and the things that you do for him, how has that grown as well?
Yes, I think there's a few pieces to that, and that's such a wonderful question. The first being that I come to the conversation as a self-advocate myself. I have ADHD, and I think what you just said about we live in a fix-it society. We live in a black and white society. We want to put people into a box. You know, you don't look like you have autism. You don't look like you have ADHD. You don't seem like you have OCD. Okay, well, what does that really mean? Maybe we should take a step back and think about, what is our relationship with difference? How do we think about that? How do we conceptualize that? So I think that's really the first piece, and kind of seeing those similarities and continuities with my experience, like my own neurodiverse journey coupled with my experience being that protective older sister, has been a really beautiful thing to watch unfold over the years. And I will always be that protective older sister, 100%. And I think the other piece to it is, as my brother is getting older, and now as I assume this role as his guardian, I'm learning about the harsh reality of adults with autism. And really, after the age of 21, a lot of your services get cut off. The schooling that you knew for 21 years, the programs, the therapies, completely are either stripped away or completely reconfigured at the age of 21. And that is something that I am so passionate about, is accessible and quality services for adults on the spectrum, because autism, ADHD, OCD, those are not things that you grow out of. They live with you. And it's our role as a society to make sure that those needs are met. That's my opinion. I see it with my brother, and I would say that as my brother is growing up, that's really my number one priority, is to make sure that as an adult, he's given the same opportunities that that I access in a freer way.
Yes, no, I totally
Yeah.
agree with that. And I think that's wonderful. And I do see, you know, that they are opening up a lot more doors. I was just watching a story that a beautiful young lady that I'm friends with, actually, Rachel Barcelona, is an employee at this restaurant now that they have in Manhattan. I can't remember the first part of the name, but it's something Joye. And it's a pastry shop. And they hire people who are neurodiverse.
Yes.
And I loved seeing that, because now not only are you employing these people so that they can now be part of the regular mainstream community and not felt that be ostracized, to believe that they can't work, they can't hold down jobs, but they're also inviting those who are like them to realize that they have a place that they can feel safe. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
share with me about, you know, us opening up more doors that way. Are you looking to kind of start any type of, you know, a conversation to whereas more organizations are opening up to actually do those things?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I know in New Jersey specifically, I do want to give a shout out to some organizations, Popcorn for the People. I know they employ adults with autism, and they just got their popcorn into Wawa, which is huge. I love Wawa, so good on Wawa, good on Popcorn for the People. Great collaboration there, but that's really what we need to see more of, and we need to see it go from the grassroots local level to something that is just embedded, and a part of society. It's 2024, and at this point, just pulling up a seat to the table isn't enough.
Yes.
We need to go beyond that. It's amazing that we've moved from awareness to acceptance, but now it's going to be, what is the next step?
It's the action.
Action,
It's
exactly.
the action. That's what we have to do, and I know that you're on the front line spearheading that,
Thank
my
you.
friend.
Thank
so
you.
everything that you have going on, as well as you being a student, how are you balancing, you know, just your everyday life, your education, as well as your advocacy and your philanthropy?
That's a wonderful question. I think, to me, it's almost like my special interest. It doesn't need to. It's a passion of mine. It's not really something that I need to think about doing, just because it's my life. It's my culture. You know, these moments and experiences, the hard ones that we've dealt with, my brother and I growing up, though, it's just embedded in who I am, and it's the change that I want to see. It's the change that I want to be. It's something that I want to pass on to my own kids one day, to the next generations. So just because it's so much a part of who I am, my own journey with neurodiversity as well is just another piece of the puzzle. But I think for the more practical side of how I manage it is really just pouring into myself, if that makes sense. I really care about health and fitness and living a balanced and full life. And being a student, it can get busy at times, but I think if I'm taking care of myself, doing the things I need to do for my body and mind, then I can just trust my intuition and just kind of know that everything will work out.
Will work out.
Right.
Self-love. She is doing it and starting it young. Self-love, self-care. It sounds like you're very much aware of that. Don't wait until you're 30, 40, 50 years old to realize you're burnt out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
So that's something that I think I've learned recently. I'm glad to have learned that lesson young. And it's something that I would recommend to everyone. If you're feeling burnt out, you got to give some of that love back to yourself.
No,
for
you're
sure.
absolutely right. I love that. Well, you know, on your mission of advocating for the voiceless, you know, and those that are different than we are, you are, and everyone else is. How did you come up with You, Me, and Neurodiversity right after the I see the name, but I can't read it. But the Michael organization.
Sure, yes. So I think of it that it came very full circle. So if I return to my, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name of my own lesson. Friends who are different.
See, it's not just me.
When I think about the Friends Who Are Different lesson plan program that I began when I was 14, for me it's very full circle. So now this is almost a decade later, really. Well, not yet. I'm 21 now. So quite a few years later, it really is a full circle moment. I loved being in school so much and focusing on neurodiversity affirming and neuro-inclusive education. That's really what I wanted to return to. And just, I love writing so much. I love capturing people's experiences so much. So for me, it was a very natural way to think, okay, you know, what am I good at? What do I love to do? How can I leverage those two things to create change? And it really is all of the titles that we have. We have right now, Max and the Tower of Acceptance,
Yes.
Henry and the Birthday Invitation, and Lily Finds Her Voice. All of our titles are age appropriate, and they're crafted after real stories and real experiences.
I love that.
Which is so special. We have another title coming out in just a few months called Julie Visits the Statue of Liberty. And the story behind that is, my brother loves New York City, and we're pretty close, so I guess it's very fitting. But my brother loves New York City. He loves Madagascar, the scenic Grand Central Station, and he wanted to see the Statue of Liberty, which could be very, in a sensory perspective, very overwhelming. Lots of people, loud noises, bright lights. But he went to the Statue of Liberty with my mom, and you know, there's an amazing picture of him with his headphones on, looking up at the Statue of Liberty, and it's just the symbolism behind that, you know, really kind of gives me goosebumps to talk about. But just, it's what kind of country do we want to live in?
Yeah. Yes. No, I get it.
What are the values that we were built on?
Yes, exactly. And how about teaching our children that?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and these books clearly speak to that you're sharing with them the differences in others and how they can, I love that, Max and the Tower of Acceptance. Tell us
Yes.
real quick a little about that book. What is Max and the Tower of Acceptance?
Of course. So Max is about a young student, young boy with autism, and it's really about the journey between him and his teacher, Miss Jones, to help teach his class about his differences and about the way that he experiences school, experiences life outside of school. And I won't spoil the end of the book,
Yes.
but it kind of is a play.
Have to buy it.
Yes. We are available on Amazon, and then we have on Barnes & Noble paperback and hardcover versions as well. And our book royalties do support autism-focused charities,
Love it.
which is a huge important piece of the mission. And it's about Max and Miss Jones and their journey towards teaching Max's class about acceptance, about accepting his differences. And it's a little play on my last name, Lego, because the students, I could spoil it. They built a tower of acceptance.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Through Legos?
Yes,
I
yes.
love it. You still have to buy the book. I'm sorry. You have to buy the book, the whole
would love
series.
that.
Yes,
We
that
would
sounds
love that.
amazing.
Yes.
So what other initiatives and programs
Yes.
does UME and Neurodiversity provide?
Of course. So there are really two other components. The first is, throughout the year, we publish these interactive activity books themed throughout the different months of the year. So we did have a holiday edition that just came out a few months ago, and then we had our first original edition. And those are coloring books. They're neurodiversity affirming coloring books. So I actually created it in collaboration with my younger brother because he loves to color. I love to color, quite frankly.
I think we have a picture of that as well.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I don't know any adults that don't love to color. So it's a great way to really bridge the neurodiverse and neurotypical communities through coloring. Kids can do it, adults can do it, and it's a really great way to work your way through the book and just kind of learn some of the lessons, and there's some pages in there about
Yes, that
processing
one.
emotions, just these really important topics, but presented in a really fun and accessible way.
Yes.
And then we have you, me, we in our circle. And that is a circle time kit in a box.
Oh, wow.
So yes, community builders, community leaders, teachers, Girl Scouts, pageant title holders, anybody that's maybe looking to do a community service project can purchase our kit. And it comes with one of the titles, and it has everything they need to go into the classroom and to deliver a You, Me Neurodiversity lesson plan.
That is interesting.
Thank you.
I love that.
Thank you.
So in terms of the people that you're reaching, are you going into schools, organizations? How are you getting this information out to the people?
Yes, so really it's getting the word out about our titles.
Okay.
having people purchase our titles, having them in their shelves at home. We are looking to make some more appointments to get into schools. We are still grassroots, so any local organizations, local schools that are out there, we would love to connect with.
Yes.
100%. But yes, looking to bring our you, me, we in our circle into those schools, and I think really that's the turning point for us is youth education and mobilizing and inspiring these lessons into our next generation. We also do want to give a shout out to Next for Autism, which is a really wonderful organization that is very involved with Life After 21 support, and they're just great. We've done some work with them, so a big shout out to Next for Autism.
I love that.
Yes.
Is there anything, specific that you feel that, everyone in that community, every neurodiverse person, every autistic person could actually use that they're not receiving right now? Something from your bird's eye view.
That's a wonderful question. I think first, given my experience now, is more support for adults, flexible employment, housing is another big one. The waiting lists for quality housing programs are 17, 20 plus years long. So that is a really critical need in our communities right now, is creating, and not only creating, but making those programs more accessible to the adults that need it. So flexible employment, quality housing, for just better, more enriching quality of life. And then the next piece is very basic, and this is something that anybody watching can implement right now, is just more understanding and acceptance. If you are in a grocery store and you see a child or an adult that seems like they might be struggling with a behavior, or they're overwhelmed, it's a very heavy sensory stimulating environment, don't stare, don't point. If anything, ask what you could do to help. And I think another big piece of this is autism etiquette too, and neurodiversity etiquette. If you see a child and maybe their caregiver, talk to the child directly, and you can engage the caregiver as well. But really just approaching people with more humanity, the way that you would want to be treated, goes such a long way. And I've seen that in my experiences, at home as well.
I love that. What are the biggest misconceptions maybe that you've seen?
Great question. Well, there's definitely one misconception that autism really only affects boys, or is more common in boys, and that's really because girls haven't been included in the research until very, very recently. So autism does manifest very differently in girls and boys as well. So that's a really big piece. And then maybe that children are misbehaved, that people with autism are dangerous. That's something that my family has dealt with, and it's heartbreaking. But I think generally that autism is something to pathologize when it's not. It's something to accept, embrace, and celebrate.
Exactly, and celebrate. And I do admit, when I was younger, if we had kids that were just a little bit more rambunctious, didn't, pay attention, was all over the place, we would put them in a special class, and then we would medicate them, and then and just honestly treat them differently, and not educate the mainstream students about who they were and what they are and what they have, you know what I mean, and to just try to embrace their differences opposed to not want to learn or understand them, and as you mentioned early, make fun of them and not question what's going on. So do you see that changing now in the school system, that they're sort of embracing a little more these kids that see the world differently?
I do see it changing. I know there are a lot of great organizations like Best Buddies, Big Brothers Big Sisters as well does do a lot of work with neurodiverse advocacy too, and that's all so wonderful to see. So I have seen positive changes at the school level, and more of that bridge between the neurotypical and neurodiverse communities, which really at the end of the day is what we need. We do need more of that integration and not putting people in a box, and approaching it with more humanity. So I have seen that. I do still think that we have quite a bit to go.
Yes,
but
we
it's
do.
it's
Rome
such
wasn't built in a day.
Yes, exactly. Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's such a privilege to occupy a space in a community to educate and inspire about these issues, because it is so close to my heart, and it is really special to be able to have this platform, and it's something that I don't take lightly at all. And I think one small piece as well is, I think people walk on eggshells sometimes.
Yes, they do.
They're scared to ask.
Yeah.
They're scared to ask about difference.
Yes.
And if a first step is just to eradicate that and just to be more open to asking questions and learning more, that's a great place to start.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that would benefit so many.
Absolutely.
It really, really would. So let me ask you, how do you view your work in relation to the broader mission of promoting acceptance and advocacy for individuals with autism and neurodiversity?
I would say knowledge is power.
Yes.
Education translates into action.
Yes.
I remember being a young student. I always loved reading class and language arts, and I remember the lessons that I learned from my favorite books, and those were things that I took with me throughout my life. And I think there's maybe a misconception that kids can't handle tough topics.
True.
That can't handle
Yes.
situations regarding people being, looking, acting, speaking differently, when really the opposite, maybe I would argue that the opposite is true.
No, you're absolutely right.
Kids want to learn.
Yes.
They want to feel that belonging, and they
Yes.
want to learn about difference, and they want to accept and embrace it.
Yes.
And I feel that as an older sister, as someone on this journey myself, that it is my role to bring that. So yeah, kids are the next generation. They're going to be the next leaders.
Yes.
The next generation of people writing stories like this. So education is power, knowledge is power, and I think that's the piece that we bring to the broader space of advocacy and neurodiversity work.
I love that. I love that. And it's important even for those who don't have ableisms, you know what I mean? That the knowledge, they want to know. The kids are starving for education and information
Absolutely.
and real life situations, and not just what they're hearing and reading in school. They want to engage in those adult conversations with their parents. You mentioned, you were like, what was the name of your book? You said something at the tender age of 14. You thought, wait, Alyssa, literally, I never cared much for toys.
Yes.
My fascination with conversation. So even at a young age, you wanted to be involved in bigger topics than what you were surrounded by, than what your peers were dealing with. And there are a lot of kids out there that desire that, you know?
Absolutely.
And so I think that is very important. It's the education is so key. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Oh my God, I love it. So tell us real quick, since I brought the book up, how did that come about that I didn't much care for toys? I was more fascinated with conversation.
Sure, yes, great question. So I hosted a podcast from 2018 to 2020. So at this time I was about 15 to 17 or 18 years old.
Wow.
It kind of came to a natural pause just due to COVID and how crazy everything got in such a short amount of time. I do miss it dearly, just because the whole show was about cherishing face-to-face conversation in our digital era.
Yes.
And the transformative power of just sitting with someone at a coffee shop and talking to them and being an active listener. And that was what the whole show was about. That was the essence of the show. I would interview just different leaders in the community, people just doing cool things with their talents, and it was great. It was a really, really wonderful 2 years. So when the show ended, I translated the learnings and the insights from that show into a little memoir. And that was not related to Yumi Neurodiversity, because it preceded that work, but maybe I guess you could say the first time that I really published any of my writings. So it was a big step for me, and clearly something that I would love to continue as I get older.
I really love that. I was kind of the same way. I did play with Barbie dolls for a very long time, but the other little toys I didn't play with. The Barbie doll was me as an adult. You know?
Love that.
Yeah,
I love
so
that.
literally I was living through my Barbie doll, who I wanted to be or become as an adult.
I love that.
And I did that really until I was 13, 14. My parents wanted to send me to a psychiatrist. It was weird. But anyway, so I want you to share with me, with everything that you have going on and still the youth that you're holding on to, what kind of impact with the mission that you're on, your philanthropy work, as well as you being an author, what kind of impact would you like to make on this community and the world?
Great question. Generally, I would say changing attitudes and changing perspectives, because over time that really plants the seeds for action. And the type of action that I'm referring to is more easily accessible accommodations, better understanding of autism, of the strengths and limitations that autistic people have, and how we can best support and identify those needs, and throughout the entire lifespan, not just past the age of 21, I would say is my biggest passion and priority right now. So there definitely is on the ground impact with relating to flexible employment, housing, like I mentioned earlier, but the other piece is really just a change in attitude of everybody. I want neurodiversity and topics and conversations about neurodiversity to be in every household, to be as normal as something like brushing your teeth. Because it is normal for me and for my family. And it's a huge part of how we experience the world. And I think it should be a part of how everybody experiences the world.
I agree, especially when the statistics are that 1 in 36 children in the United States has been identified as having neurodiversity. You know, so it is important. It's happening in our communities, in our households, our family members. So I think it is important that we normalize the conversation, destigmatize the whole, you know, thing, and just realize that we all have to have these just easy conversations, because it's really, really easy for you to share, you know, the differences in everyone's thoughts and their feelings, but still how they can contribute to the greater good of this world. So I am so glad that you are on this mission. I'm so glad that you play an important role in what autism awareness and acceptance is, and not just because it's personal to you, but because you see how it can affect and impact the world on a greater whole. So I so appreciate it. Do not stop, my friend.
Thank you.
So I want you to just share with me real quick, is there anything that you want to share with us, tell us, anything that you have going on that we need to know about? We already know about the books under you and You, Me, and Neurodiversity. So please share with us what is on your heart.
Of course. So first, please connect with us on social. We're at You, Me, Neurodiversity. You can purchase our books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can find us there, and then stay tuned for the launch of Julie Visits the Statue of Liberty coming out in just a few months. It's in production. What's on my heart, or what I would like to extend to the audience today, is so I go to a Jesuit school. I'm a junior at Boston College, and our big philosophy there is, what do you enjoy, what are you good at, and what does the world need you to be? And that's something that's on my heart all the time. So I would really challenge everyone to find their passion, find what keeps them up at night, find what makes them angry, assess their talents and their capabilities, and then marry those two things together to be what the world needs you to be. I feel like that really is the way to find your belonging in the community, and everybody has a way that they can occupy that role. I truly believe that.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's really good advice. That is the call to action, my friends. Say it again. What do you love? What do you say it again?
Yes. What do you enjoy? What are you good at? And what does the world need you to be?
That's right. That's your mission. Find it and do it. I love it. So you are in your, you'll be graduating soon from college.
2025.
I love that. What do we see Alyssa doing after she graduates?
Great question. So I am starting to launch my career, I guess you could say. It sounds weird to say, but I'm currently looking at a career in the intersection between strategic communication and public relations. It's just a great combination of what I love to do with speaking, but then also reading and writing and researching. So going to be working starting as a strategic communications consultant. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'd love to eventually get my master's in strategic communication, and throughout all of that, of course, continuing my work with Human Neurodiversity. It's definitely my passion project and a huge part of my life. So not going anywhere anytime soon.
And how is
Thank
Michael
you.
doing real quick? How is your
He's
brother?
great. He's great. I'm sure he's ready for summer vacation, as we
As
all
we all
are.
Yes, indeed.
But yes, we just had a great time celebrating his 19th. We went into New York City, his favorite place, got all his favorite food. So that was, I really don't get to spend as much time with him as I would like to, just because I'm away at school most of the time. But it was really special to be able to celebrate his 19th birthday, and looking forward to going home for the summer so I can spend more time with him too.
Oh my God. Well, definitely tell him that You're Our Unity community
I
loves,
will.
embrace, and celebrates him.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you so much, Alyssa, for being here.
Thank
You have
you.
been a wealth of information. You
Thank
are
you
a
so
bright
much.
star on this world, my friend. Please
Thank you.
just keep on shining. Do not stop,
Thank
okay?
you.
I'm going to put up your information where you can follow the beautiful Miss Alyssa Lego. There you go. And that is Michael along with you. You can check out her books. You have 3 of them that are published so
Yes.
far, right? Now, perfect. And for every purchase, the proceeds or a portion of the
Royalties,
proceeds
yes.
are donated to an autism.
Focused charity.
I
Yes.
love that. I love that. Thank you so much for being here,
Thank
my
you.
friend. You must come back. This is not the end
Oh.
of our conversation.
If if
Okay.
the invitation is there, I will be back.
Oh, the invitation is there, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to get real quick to the Dare to Be You. And it is. Neurodiversity invites us to embrace the beautiful spectrum of human cognition. Together, you, me, and the essence of neurodiversity weave a tapestry of compassion, empathy, and unwavering support. Let's champion understanding, celebrate differences, and foster an inclusive world where every mind finds its place to thrive. So the Dare to Be You is join us in advocating for neurodiversity and embracing autism acceptance. Let's ignite a movement of empathy and understanding where every individual is celebrated for their unique way of experiencing the world. Together, let's build a future where diversity is not just accepted, but cherished, and where every voice is heard and valued. And that's exactly what the beautiful Miss Alyssa shared with
Thank
us
you.
today. All of that. Go out there and embrace and celebrate and support those that are different, that think different, act different, walk different, express themselves differently. We are still all wanting the same thing, love and compassion. And we all just want to really just get along. You know what I mean? And we can do that if we embrace each other's views of the world. So I want to thank our amazing guest, Miss Alyssa,
Thank
for
you.
being here. I want you guys to go out there and do something this week that's going to support the autism community. Go out there and serve in some capacity, or just get an education, as Miss Alyssa shared with us, as well as check out her books and check out her organization, You, Me, and Neurodiversity. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another wonderful episode of You're Our Unity. I want you also to remember that peace and love is in the palm of our hands. So please, let's go out there and be some love, give some love, and share some love. We will see you next week on You're Our Unity. And I want you to have a wonderful evening. And remember that we love you. I want you to say good night, Alyssa. We will see you next
night.
week. Thank you so much for being here,
Thank you
beautiful.
for having me.
No problem. Have a good night, everyone.